tell us about Avassa and your platform?
For sure. So Avassa is a platform for managing containerized applications in distributed environments, like in retail stores, for example.
What are container applications, and can you tell us why they are great for Edge?
For sure. So the IT industry have struggled with finding, let's call it a universal packaging format for computer programs since pretty much it was invented. So containerization is basically a means of packaging a computer program in a way that allows it to work really well wherever it needs to run, across the cloud, your private data center, or in edge environments. So therefore, for people building applications, it's become a way of doing packaging in a way that they can use it across the board, thereby reducing both complexity and cost.
Why is an increasing number of retailers pursuing projects in edge computing?
Retailers are particularly interested in deeper digitization of their distributed locations, i.e. their stores, right? Trying to build environments that is compelling, useful and efficient. Usually these days means that you have to think about how to use your digital tooling for it. And if you think about digitalization of your distributed stores, of course, then you have to have some sort of substrate or something to run your computer programs on. And I think the reason, again, why they want to do that is to put the compute power and the ability to run applications closer to where their customers are inside of their stores.
What type of application do retailers typically choose to run at the in-store edge?
I think there are two types. There are traditional applications. They have been running computer programs inside of their stores for a long while. A good example of an application is the point of sales. Of course, application, just in order to be able to sell something, of course, you need a point of sales. So let's call that a traditional application that runs best at the edge. But they also have new applications like, for example, visitor counters or other means of helping customers, for example, navigate their stores. Usually has to do with a combination of a camera, some machine learning or AI, and some sort of application doing something clever with the video streams.
What does it mean for the user that the Avassa platform is application-centric?
So the important thing for our users, for example, retailers, is that they care preciously little about the actual details of the IT inside of the stores, even though it's a necessity. They care a lot about the value that they can bring by pushing applications to their store environments. So a system like Avassas is mostly applicable for people that care deeply about applications rather than the infrastructure, and therefore we've tried to build it so that these people, that part of the organization, can really love it by being application-centric.
Describe a few of the threats your users typically see at the edge within retail.
I think the number one thing that strikes our users as they embark on running computer programs inside of their distributed environment is that mostly in store environments, there's no perimeter security. There's no physical boundary between, for example, customers and the actual computers. So physical theft is a thing. And that has actually kind of profound ramifications around how you need to protect data, both traveling to and from the store when it rests on a disk, to make sure that the theft of a computer doesn't compromise, let's say, the security of the entire operation or from a particular application. So I think the number one thing is the physical aspect, the lack of perimeter or physical security.
How does Avassa's platform stand out in tackling those threats?
I think the big thing is that we had the opportunity to really build security into the system from scratch, so we could architect it for environments with limited or no physical security. So we've made that sure that all data traveling across the system and all applications on the system are well protected kind of from the ground up and across the entire life cycle, as opposed to maybe tools that weren't built for these physically exposed environments.
What are Avassa's goals for the upcoming years?
The goals for Avassa is to significantly lower the barrier of entry for companies moving appropriate parts of their applications from the cloud to edge or to distributed environments. For a long while now, it's been truly a technical issue because it's hard and there hasn't really been systems built for that. So if we can help a couple of large enterprises kind of liberate their applications from their cloud environments and some of them, to be placed on the edge, that is our goal for the year.
Can you tell us about Extenda Retail?
Yeah, so we're a software company that caters toward in-store shopping experiences. Typically this shows up in the point of sales checkout, so the typical man till that you use, or the self-checkout, or these days even shopping on your phone. Yeah.
What did Extenda Retail implement Avassa's platform?
So for us, we were really looking for something that would allow us to run our containerized applications at the edge, and really doing it in a very simple way. So you have a lot of other solutions out there that involve more complex technologies like a Kubernetes, a lot of container orchestration. But for us, when we're running at the edge in a single store, we really don't need all that. We just need a very simple way for us to deploy, operate, monitor, and upgrade the applications that are running. So for us, Avassa provided a really straightforward way to do that, that looked a lot like the way that we deploy the same containerized applications to cloud. So very simple for us.
What aspect of Avassa's platform enticed you and became the deciding factor to implement the platform?
So again, it's probably the simplicity of the platform. It was very easy for us to get started. I think we were up and running with the proof of concept in a matter of days. Um, Conceptually, everything is very good for us. We're very familiar with Docker, so it feels very familiar with the technologies that we already know. And then ultimately, we really liked how Avassa had thought about security. They do some things where, retail stores especially are very sensitive to anything that could come into the store that would prohibit retail operations, like a ransomware attack or something like this. So Avassa had a very well thought out security topology that allowed us to safely ship the applications to the store without having to open up network access to the stores that could then be used perhaps for some nefarious purposes. Yeah.
How has the platform helped and benefited your company?
Again, for us, it's allowed us to move forward really quickly. So I mentioned before that we have several different types of platforms for shopping. It's the traditional casa or checkout that you stand in line and you wait for a store employee to check you out, or we have a self-checkout, or you shop on your phone or an enterprise device. So we believe in giving customers a lot of options, but also part of the diversity is having different types of platforms. And that's very important for us because there can be an outage. It could be an outage in the cloud, it could be an internet outage, which ultimately would affect the ability of the retailer to have the customer pay for their goods, walk out of the store. And if we look, today we're at a Plantagen store, and Plantagen is really, they do most of their sales within a 3-month period. So we have to have everything in the spring go absolutely flawlessly for this retailer. We can't ask them to come back later. So this diversity in platforms allows us to ensure that anything that might happen to prohibit the shopper from being able to check out, we have different platforms, different ways of accessing them, really making it almost impossible that there isn't one available to serve the customer at any time.
In what way does Avassa's platform contribute to meeting specific customer demands when delivering your POS solutions?
Yeah, so not only is it about meeting the customer, it's also about satisfying the customer. And the customer, again, in a large volume business like Plantagen during the spring, or as we have with grocery retailers, where there's really high volume, the lines can build up, we need to be able to move really quickly. And that can be that, by running at the edge, we're just that much faster. Like milliseconds really matter. So when we run at the edge, we're able to move the line faster, serve more customers, ultimately satisfying the customer. We're also bringing in more and more technology. So it's not just about running the checkout. It's about things like image recognition or loss prevention. These are predictive analytics that often benefit from happening very quickly at the edge and not suffering from any kind of latency or delays that would happen from like a round trip time to cloud. So for us, this is really propelling our business, and it's quite exciting. We don't know what's going to come next, but we know that when it needs to run fast and reliably, that we can either run it in the cloud or we can run it additionally at the edge for that reason.
How has Avassa's platform increased the security and efficiency for you as a distributor and your customers?
Yeah, so again, security-wise, Avassa's really thought of everything. They make sure that there's no inbound traffic needed to manage the system. They give us some assurances that when we aim to run a container at the edge, it's actually what we're running at the edge. And in general, it just makes us feel more secure. We know that it's not a matter of if, but when there can be an outage. Like even big cloud providers like Google or Amazon, sometimes they have an issue. Sometimes the internet has an issue. So we just, rest more comfortably at night, knowing that no matter what's going to be thrown at us, we have a way to keep running in the store.
Tell us more about the Plantagen case and what Avassa contributes when in delivering on customer needs.
Yeah, so again, for Plantagen, I think the numbers are 60 or 70% of their sales happen within a condensed period in the spring. People want to be out in their gardens. So for us, this absolutely makes sure that no matter what happens, retailer operations are going to continue at Plantagen. And for us also, Plantagen is a fantastic partner for us. They're very exciting about some of the new technologies that we're bringing to market. And with Avassa, again, we know that if there's really high speed needed or some computation that needs to happen in the store that benefits from having it in the store, we don't have to think about that. We know that if we can run it in a Docker container, we can run it in the store, and that just makes everything around the planning and the architecture that much more simple.